What time is it? It's nation time.
This parable that you were talking about in sin with sinners, what is a
hmm
parable?
Yeah, a parable is a story that's used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson on multiple levels all at one time. It's like one story that is heard by different people depending on their own level of understanding. And so Jesus, according to some Bible scholars, he used at least 38 parables that are found in the scriptures. And oftentimes he would be talking about in his parables, he'd be talking about fishing or planting or the weather or things of that nature. And so for certain people, that's all they heard. But for other people, they heard him talking about something deeper, which was really his whole message, rebuilding a kingdom of God here on earth. And so some people say, well, why did he speak or preach or teach in parables? Because his message was revolutionary and it was dangerous. And for a time he was trying not to get thrown in jail, not to get thrown on the cross. And
Hmm.
so one of the ways he protected himself and the folk in his movement was by speaking and teaching in parables.
And this movie, Sinners,
hmm Did you
can you
see
give
it?
us? Yeah, I saw it, and it's pretty. It's an amazing piece of artistic artistic mastery in the sense that you got all these different genres and the time and the way they dress, the way they and you can relate to it in different ways. So it's a true parable. Then you look at the message, like when the Choctaw showed up and tried to warn them, don't let this guy in your house.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful movie, man. It's a black movie because it elevates and celebrates us and our culture. It was advertised as a horror movie, a vampire movie, but it's also a period piece. I mean, how many times do you go to the movies and see 1930s Mississippi, featured in a movie? You just don't. So that whole time period um, makes the movie a period piece, but it also makes the movie a history lesson just because it showed us, even in these debilitating circumstances, it showed us in all of our beauty and dignity and agency, even amid all that madness. So yeah, it was so many different things.
The scene where you had the Asian community, they were on both sides,
You
and
notice
you
that.
look on both sides, and that tells an incredible cultural balancing act that's going on. And so it looks like which way will it go? But the movie speaks directly to that kind of imagery.
And just the way that scene was shot. The camera is on. I think the camera's on Smoke, and he's in the restaurant or the grocery store run by the Asian family, and then they tell the little girl to go across the street, and the camera follows her from the black side of town, walking to the street to the white side of town. It was a way of like teaching that they're right there on the middle, walking
Mhm.
that thin line without literally saying it. I thought it was an absolutely beautiful way of teaching history.
And it's a lot of sand going on in this movie in centers, depending on where you're looking and what your value system is. But it's some stuff going on. It's like change in dimensions, but it all merges into one thing. You know how you in the poem, Jeremiah Baby talks about Dwara.
Mm-hmm.
It was a spiritual transcendence that happened during the entertaining. You're at the sacred mixing with the secular, and it was a lot going on, and that that particular spot, you know.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, what was one or two of your favorite moments in the movie?
I would say for me, when he met the sister in the shed,
Yeah.
the healer,
Mm-hmm.
what I call the black magic woman.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they had lost,
Right.
and then it was just it was something there, and so that kind of that touched me.
Me too. And I remember telling somebody that's one of the things I appreciated most about the movie was it showed black men who fiercely loved their women, which is something you don't often see in movies. But I'm really struck by what you said about how the movie mixed different dimensions. Like when they were in the club and the roof was on fire and the
Uh-huh.
ancestors were in there and folk from the future were in there. Then that one of the last scenes where um, Smoke is about to make his transition, just just before he kills the last member of the Ku Klux Klan, he can see his woman and child in the other dimension. I thought, yeah,
Mhm.
that's beautiful, man. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's something that I saw it twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, man, I started reading what they meant by hoodoo, and then I
Mm-hmm.
looked up, like the different traditional groups, like the Choctaw, and I looked
Mm-hmm.
at the thing they were talking about the five civilized Native Americans nations and how that's interacting today, playing out the different groups, reclaiming citizenship, all of those things interacting. So it's something that speaks to us
Yeah.
on different levels, can be used as a college course right now.
Oh,
There's so
absolutely.
much in there.
Absolutely, because in our K through 12 classrooms, they don't ever talk about Black folk in the South in our interactions with the Asian community or with the Choctaw community, but that's a part of our history. And I'm so glad Ryan Coogler um, chose to chose to share that. But also part of our history is just the blues. Clarksdale, Mississippi, um, a small city in the Mississippi Delta. That city is literally known as the birthplace of the blues. And according to Ryan Coogler himself, the movie is literally a celebration of the blues. The blues is a character in the movie all by itself, and an
Mhm.
important character in the movie.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I really observed more than anything was there's a lot of violence in the movie. Of course, everybody would say, well, it was different. The vampires, blood
Mm-hmm.
running down folks' face, uh, uh, shooting people in the head. They say, my mother-in-law the woman's mother-in-law said, "Is there violence in it?" I said, "Oh yes."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I said, "Oh yeah." And then it's constant.
yeah. But I think it was a masterpiece. And I think of all the different things that it is, this homage to the blues, a period piece, a black movie, and all these things. Uh, to me, the most powerful thing was the fact that I view Sinners, the movie, as a parable, because just like the parables in the Bible, it's one story, but it speaks on different levels, and what you take from the movie really depends on what you bring to the movie in terms of
Mm,
where you are.
yeah, it's that circle.
Right, right, right. And that's one of the reasons why I chose the scripture I did for the sermon, Matthew 13:16 through 17. Blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. Because many prophets and righteous men and women desired to see what you see, but they didn't see it, desired to hear what you hear, but they didn't hear it. Because again, depending on where you are spiritually or whatever, you're gonna see one thing, but other people may see way, way, way more. And I'm arguing that folk in the shrines of the Black Madonna, because of our theology, because of where we are grounded, that gives us a an extra sight, so to speak. We can interpret this movie on a level where some people may not be able to.
Yeah, see, I feel like with a movie is like it helps you to elevate.
Mm-hmm.
And with elevation, you can always look at where you were or what's going on better.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a kind of suggestion, that maybe we should elevate, see what more, be open more to what our ancestors, what's more to our culture, what more we have, is more to us. You know, think about it. So that's what I feel, elevation. I think the same thing with the movie Black Panther. It was to me, it was like that. The fights, the beauty of the costumes, that the singing, the blending. There's something in us that connects with that, I believe, and you
Yeah.
can feel it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our singers and music, especially coming out of Detroit, classic soul, you got a blend of blues, you got a blend of gospel, and kind of in the sense, gospel is taking some of this back, of bending and saying, we're going to use this, all of this, for our spiritual purpose with our ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's something that God is doing. And if we work it, if we open to it more and more, I believe some of that's going to get up into us more and more in worship. And we can see
Mm-hmm.
beyond what this world has done to us and
Mm-hmm.
break free. Because that's where it is in our mind and our spirit. We got to break free and not let this man in.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't even don't even let them in. Don't even let them in. And like you're saying, there were so many messages, and I love it when folk can teach without just being straightforward. Like,
Mhm.
um, and that's what I think Ryan Coogler does. Like you mentioned, he did that in Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. He does that in this movie too, because if you look at sinners as a parable, really what he's teaching is the fact that this is how African people have always taught.
Come on.
The professors, the teachers, the master teachers in the African mystery temples, they spoke in parables.
Hmm.
Whenever you hear Baba Mbayu sharing those African wisdom sayings, those are like little parables. You
Hmm.
can take different levels of meaning, but they really depend on what you bring to the situation. And one of the reasons why that just stuck out to me is because so many black folk, holier than thou, too blessed to be stressed black folk, were telling their congregations not to go see the movie. Don't see it because it's about sinners. But hell, the title of the movie is a parable all by itself. Like who is the real sinner? Like if you're coming in with that whole Eurocentric slave Christianity perspective, well,
True.
the sinners are cut and dry. The sinners are the folk that are in there drinking, fornicating, cussing. That's the sinners right there,
Come
and
on.
they get what they deserve. They get
Bird
killed,
in the deepest part of hell.
burned in the deepest part, and literally, folk in the movie was calling themselves sinners. Like one of my favorite characters, played by Delroy Linda. I always get
Uh-huh.
his name wrong. He played oh my God, Delta Slim.
Uh-huh.
Delta Slim. He was playing a harmonica in the
Yeah.
depot. Yeah, yeah. When they met him in the depot, he called himself a
The
sinner.
son is
In the
Delroy.
Delroy, thank you,
Yeah.
Delroy Lindo, I think his name. In the
Uh-huh.
first scene, when Sammy walks into the church, I think someone stands up and yells "sinner,"
Uh-huh.
and then, so on one level they are the sinners, but if
Yeah.
all you bring to the table is that Eurocentric slave read of Christianity, then that is going to be who and what you define as sin. And so on one level, that's the story, but on another level, it goes further than that. What
That's
do you
true.
think about that?
I've seen that in my life, man.
Mm,
I've seen where I'm living in one neighborhood and on both
hmm.
sides, one family is over there having a good time, having parties, dancing.
Hmm.
Back then they called it doing the dog. They don't call it church. And they're partying and they're raising money and they take all this money and go help Miss
Hmm.
Lucy down the street, right?
Wow.
And then on the other side, you have Miss Such and Such, and she's praying and she's talking. She got people on their knees praying and talking and praying and throwing water on them. But and she's condemning everything up and down the road, and her hair is on fire. And it's
Right.
like, who is really serving Jesus here, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
But,
Right.
but I've seen it. But the interpretation, how we understand it, and put it in our lives is an ongoing struggle.
Yeah.
That's the nature of our community.
Right. Right.
And
And so, just about all the main characters from the movie, from that one particular perspective, they're considered the real sinners, especially Annie, the sister that you were talking about, the spokeswoman, because she was practicing hoodoo. She had those African ways of knowing and connected to the ancestors and the spirit world. And so, from one perspective, from the slave Christian perspective, she's the sinner because she's not uh, practicing
yeah,
what they consider Christianity. But on a whole nother level, um, the sinners are it's not Sammy that's the sinner. I've heard some people say, they really like the movie, but they hate the fact that at the end Sammy chose sin instead of choosing the church. I'm like, well, Delta Slim in the movie talked about how uh, this religion that we were given was given to us, but the blues that came from Africa. That's us.
uh-huh.
And so, from that perspective, Sammy wasn't choosing sin. He was choosing culture. He was choosing history. He was choosing his passion. And how on God's green earth are we going to define that as sin? I mean, if God gave him the ability to play like he played and to sing like he sang, how was that sin for choosing that?
Yeah.
And so, we have to be able to look at this in different ways. But on the third level, I say the sinners are everybody, but we got to
Uh-huh.
remember that God works through all of us,
Mhm.
imperfect beings, to
Yeah.
do ordinary folk to do extraordinary things, and that's the third level that I contend, I believe that members of the Shrines of the Black Madonna can recognize. That we recognize that God has always worked through ordinary people to do extraordinary things. I mean, ain't none of us perfect. But if you still at the end of the movie, these quote unquote sinners, these quote unquote imperfect people were choosing God left and right. They were choosing community. They were choosing investment. They were willing to sacrifice one for another. I mean, you're talking about the most holy, divine acts a human can do. And these quote unquote sinners were doing those acts. And
Mhm.
so that's why I was like, man, Ryan Coogler is a genius.
What time is it? It's nation time.